Welcome back to the channel, good friends. Brian from Apex Detail. When it comes to any occupation that you might have, or even a part-time job or a hobby, mastering what you're working on is one of the most important elements of being successful. In this case, here, we work on painted surfaces, or the outer surface of your car, truck, or motorcycle here at Apex Detail, correcting it, protecting it, and when it comes to the external material of a car, truck, or motorcycle, what covers the most surface area is going to be the painted surface. And that comes in the form of single stage from back in the day, mid-90s, late 80s, mid-90s, and earlier, a single stage, which is just a layer of primer and then a layer of the color coat. And then there's clear coat was introduced in the early to mid-90s, and then tinted clear coat and also pearl tinted clear coat and metallics were also introduced even years later. So 4 different surfaces that we work on here at the most, and I'm going to share some of the basics when it comes to finishes, especially clear coat, and give you all the facts you need to know to get started. And if we have interest and we want to dig deeper into it, let me know and I will do so. Let's get the video started. Let's start with single stage paint systems. And if this is the hood, we're looking at it horizontally. It has a primer layer that goes on top of the surface, metal primarily back in the day. On top of that is going to be your color coat. And that's it. 2 stages of the paint, primer and color. So when you're correcting or you're laying down protection, it's going to be on that top layer. There's going to be transfer from the color coat onto your pads if you're going to do paint correction. And it is very, very porous, very absorbent. It likes to drink in coatings and wax and sealants. And that's why I primarily like to put a wax or a polymer sealant on top of single stage and leave out the coating as much as possible. Okay, let's spring ahead a few years to the mid to late 80s in through the mid 90s, where they introduced clear coat to Automotive Finishes. So if this would be your hood and you're looking at it horizontally, the first layer would be the primer layer to protect the surface and the material. The second layer would be the color coat or the base coat. And the third and final layer would be your clear coat, which would be a little bit thicker than the first 2 layers. And that would be your chemical resistant, your block to the sun's harmful rays, and even helping with scratches and protect the color coat. Now, that is made of, well, primarily polyurethane and acrylic. So you can consider it a form of plastic. So there is a layer of plastic on your vehicle and you need to treat it as such. It's not very hard, it can scratch easily, it can chip easily, and that's why paint protection in our shop is one of our primary surfaces. But that's not the end of it. Let's skip a few years ahead into the future. Okay, so we also have Tricoat. Is a package you can pick for vehicles, and all that is an extra layer of the mid coat or the color coat on top of the base coat that is translucent. Not clear, it's pigmented slightly, and it gives the paint depth. It gives it a nice deep crisp shine to it. So if this would be your panel, you would have the primer layer, you would have your base coat, you would have your Tricoat layer of translucent lighter color pigments, and then you would have a thick layer of clear coat on top. The translucent allows light to reach down into the base coat color and give it a metallic, a pearl, or a candy coat look to it. This, along with Tinted Clear, which we'll get into next, will transfer a bit of light color from the surface onto your pad if you're doing paint correction. So do not panic if you are polishing, you flip over the polisher and the pad is turning a different color. It's just a little bit of the Tricoat or the Tinted Clear or the pigments transferring from the surface to your pad. Okay, and finally, another, well, I mean, not hugely popular, but another finish that you will come across occasionally, but most definitely is going to be Tinted Clear. So if this is the surface of your hood, you have your primer layer, you have your base coat or color coat, and then the clear coat is going to be mixed with a little bit of pigment or even metallic flake. And this will go over the color coat or the base coat, and that enhances depth and richness and the appearance under different types of lighting. This also will transfer a little bit of color from the surface onto your pad when you're doing paint correction. So all of those have a little bit different properties and something you should look out for. Two more finishes I would like to introduce before we move on, and they are even rare, but they are becoming a little bit more popular, especially this one here, and that is matte clear coat or stealth or satin. And if this is your panel, you'll have the primer, base coat, and then a clear coat that has no sheen to it whatsoever. If you look at regular clear coat microscopically, it is like hills and valleys. To give you a matte or satin or a stealth finish, if you look at it sideways microscopically, you're going to see deep peaks and valleys, and that takes away the sheen from the surface of the vehicle. Now, something to keep in mind when you have or come across a vehicle with this type of surface, you're going to be treating it, cleaning it, caring for it chemically, not mechanically. If you machine this type of surface, you're going to shave off the peaks, bring it down to the valleys, and you're going to make it what? Shiny. So there is a line of products, and there's more and more to choose from nowadays. Dr. Beasley's is one, just to mention one of a few, that you can choose to chemically clean and care for and protect matte, satin, or stealth clear. And finally, you can also come across commercial grade. Your white vans, your utility, your construction vehicles, the white pickup trucks, they have a special clear, thicker, very hard, very stubborn, very hard to correct. A wool pad and some of your harshest cutting compounds is what you're going to need to make a dent here. Even rare, doesn't happen a lot, but you will come across it eventually. So those are all the different types of finishes that you're going to come in contact with. And you can really go down the rabbit hole talking about each one of these when it comes to touch-up, correction. I'll get into these if you want. Just mention it down in the comment section, and we could break it up into categories and go into touch-up, correction on all these different types of clears, how to protect them, and so on and so on. The most popular clears is going to be 2K. It's a two-component. Those components are a clear resin and a hardener, and they mix before spraying. The chemical reaction between the two hardens and cures to what you see in today's clear coats, gloss clear coats. They protect the color coat from UV rays, chemicals, environmental elements. They transition to water-based from a solvent-based clear is happening very quickly, and we're going to get into that next. Guys, one thing to be mindful of is the transition, which started primarily around the year 2000, a little bit before, is the transition from solvent-based clear coats, organic solvents, to water-based clear coats. Water-based clear coats are much thinner and softer, and they go on cloudy, and they do take a longer time to cure, but when cured, some say they even have a better look, a wetter look, a deeper, clear, crisp reflection than your organic solvent-based clears. Water-based transition is because it is safer for those who spray, body shops and manufacturers. It is safer for the environment, not so good for the vehicle. Thinner, very soft, and I can tell you paint protection films were about 25% of the work that we put out here at the shop years ago, and that has again transitioned along with the water-based clears to being 75% of the work we do. And it needs paint protection film to protect it from rock chips because it is thinner and softer. Your ceramic coatings and your Teflon coatings and those advertised cannot do what paint protection film does for your vehicle when it comes to stopping rock chips. There are some that advertise that they do. When you hear that, run like hell, because unless it's paint protection film, as of now, today, doing today's video, there's no coating out there that will stop rock chips as well as paint protection does. I hope that changes. That would be nice. There is a sprayable version of paint protection film that we are bringing into our shop that doesn't leave the lines and looks much better. And how that holds up, that's what I'm testing right now. But there is no coating out there, ceramic coating or Teflon coating, that stops rock chips, as well as paint protection film. Okay, to sum up the video, clear coat is a form of plastic. Polyurethane, for the most part, polyurethane and acrylic. And there are different shapes and forms and different types of clear, as I mentioned. And we are transitioning from a organic solvent-based to water-based. It's going to be a different beast. And then as they continue to transfer from one to the other, it's only going to get thinner and softer. It's not complete. We're only talking about a partial transfer of organic to water, and we already have the huge difference in thickness and going from what was a little bit more tenacious of a clear coat in the early 2000s to now very soft, very thin, cannot deal with rock chips, cannot deal with scratches, cannot deal with heavy correction. So we went from back in the day doing multi-step corrections to enhancements and one-steps for the most part, because paint surfaces today cannot handle much more. This has been Brian from Apex Detail. If you want me to take a deeper dive into it, and I can break it into different categories, touch-up, correction, and protection for these surfaces, let me know. I'd be happy to do so. Catch you in the next video.